If you have your Bibles, open up to Joshua. Come with me to Joshua, please. This is where we were this last week. Those of you coming along with me, reading this Bible, it's so fun. I'm having a great time. Joshua chapter 1. Look at this. We got out of the books of the law, what was called the Torah, or the Pentateuch, 5, Pent, right? The Pentateuch, the books of the law. And now we're in the first book of history. This is where the narrative starts to become kind of action-oriented. And then Joshua went over here, and they were hiding behind these rocks, and then these people came out. And it's all story-bound, right? So we're in history books now. We're in the first book, and it's Joshua. And then I know some of you are going, I thought you said we were celebrating Palm Sunday. Why are we in Joshua? Let's find out, right? I made a deal with myself. I said, I'm not gonna leave from this readings. And so I'm just going to keep with the story and try and find Jesus in the midst of this, even on Resurrection Sunday. Try and take a guess where I'm going next week, because I got to bring the crucifixion and the resurrection somehow out of Judges. You're welcome. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say. So you're going to have to come next week because I surprised even myself. God is good. Okay. The book of Joshua is this epic account of Israel's, I would say, nearly flawless. It was pretty good. Conquest of Canaan. It's a super favorite for many. Many people like the action that goes on. If Spielberg could have gotten a hold of this, man, this would be a great movie, right? Accounts of larger-than-life miracles make Joshua both powerful and memorable. I mean, you don't forget the things that are going on here. He's crossing the Jordan River. They walk up to a river that's flowing, and then he goes, whoop, and they're crossing on dry ground. They're not sludging through the mud. It would be one thing, whoop, the water goes away, and you're getting across the Jordan River, but they're like, whoa, check this out. It's dry ground where a river used to be running just an hour ago. It's dry. Like, how does that happen? And then there's other things, right? The collapse of Jericho's walls. You're like, because they were yelling? Like it's wild. I'm reading it and I have to reread it. I'm like, so they walked around the 6th time, then they walked around the 7th time, and they all started screaming and the walls fell over. I'm like, call the contractor. Like somebody didn't use good cement. I'm like, I've got all the reasons why. What is going on here? And the big one, we're going to stop the sun in the middle of the sky. Stay right there. We got business to do. Get to it, right? And I'm reading it going, what in the world is happening here? So open up your app because we have some things I want you to write down. Joshua is just a great example of a life of faith. But embedded in that narrative of Joshua's experience, there's a hint at the person and the work of Jesus. You could see Jesus through the life of Joshua. It's kind of a greater Joshua moment. So I want to share with you 6 times where I see Jesus in the midst of these Old Testament stories in Joshua. But before I go there, I want to do some onomastics. I know you're like, gymnastics? No, onomastics, it's the study of names and what their meanings are. My bride and I had 4 children, and each of our kids, we named them according to the meaning of their names. We wanted to name our son Cameron, but it meant crooked nose. I was like, Cameron's an awesome name. Crooked nose. Nope, we're not naming our son Crooked Nose, right? We thought about Cecilia. It means blind. I'm like, no, Cecilia. We're not having a Cecilia, right? So we just named our kids according to names. That's onomastics. Here it is. Here's your first fill-in. The name Jesus comes from the name Yahoshua. Yahoshua. That's what it sounds like in Hebrew, Yahoshua. If we were to say the name of Jesus, that's what we call him. In Hebrew, it's Yahoshua. That's Joshua. It means Yahweh saves, and the Lord is salvation. It's what the angel told Mary. You will name him Yahoshua. Merry Christmas. There it is. So this is what happens. And because the Lord is salvation, Yahweh saves. And so Jesus is named this. That if we were to truly read, here's what happened. This section was all in Hebrew. And then we get to the new section, and it's all in Greek. And that's where Jesus comes in. That's where his name starts there. And then by the time it gets to us in English, we've added the letter J. There is no J in the Hebrew alphabet. And so we have a letter J, so we call him Jesus. I mean, it's as far as you can get from what he was originally called. And so many words we don't pronounce correctly, I know, right? But his name has evolved in our Bibles from Hebrew to Greek to English. And then it's kind of like the Hebrew name Jacob. We call him Jacob. And nowadays we call him Jake, right? Some even go all the way to Jimmy. It's wild. I don't know how we crossed that river, but we do. We switch from Juan in Spanish to John in English. It's just, that's what's happening here, okay? But I bring this up because this book, we're going to see a lot of Jesus in Joshua. So I want to bring that to you. It's kind of a 1.0, 2.0. You remember, I brought it up a few weeks ago. I used the word type. Anybody remember that? I said it's a type, and that's a biblical study word. And here's what a type is: it's a person, thing, or event that's happening in the Old Testament that looks like a person, thing, or event that happens in the New Testament. And most of the times, that's Jesus. Most of the time, there are some activities that happen. You're like, oh, that's kind of like this over here in the New Testament, right? And when we see the cross between them, right? But here's what I want to, and I'm going to come back to this a lot. There was a guy named Augustine. He was one of the early church leaders, what they called the church fathers. He said this: the new is in the old contained. The old is in the new explained. You probably want to take out your camera and go, what did he just say? Right? Because you're going to have to, it'll sink in a minute if you read it again. If you don't understand the Old Testament, read the New Testament. If you're wondering, what the heck are they doing here in the New Testament? Why are they doing this? Read the Old Testament. If you don't understand one, read the other. And what he said is, it'll all explain itself. And I don't know how many of you, as we're reading through the Bible in a year, right, we're doing this Bible recap, you're going, oh, look what's happening. This thing that I'm reading here, I've read that before. I'll bring up one of them this morning that was, for me, it was like, oh, wow. Let's get into this. Yahoshua, here's a fill-in for the rest of our sermon. Both Joshua and Jesus are leaders who follow God's law. So I'm going to get over here to Joshua. Both Joshua and Jesus were leaders who followed God's law. And so now you're going, so wait, are we talking about Joshua or are we talking about Jesus? Yes. We're going to see them both as it happens here, right? Joshua chapter 1, verses 5 through 9 says this. So good. God is talking to Joshua. He reaches out and he says, hey, Joshua, I got something for you. Listen up. Here it is. No one's going to be able to stand guard against you as long as you live. Whew. Because I'm going to be with you like I was with Moses. I will not fail you. I will not abandon you. Man, you want to write those down. Just put your name in there. Marty, I will stand with you. Right? That's what I'm doing. Okay, here it comes. Verse 6. Say this with me. Be strong and courageous. He says, the reason I'm doing that is because I want you to get it in your brain. Be strong and courageous. Because you're going to be the one who's going to lead these people to possess the land that I swore to their ancestors, the land that I swore that I would give them. Verse 7, what's it say? Whoo! We're doubling down here. Not just courageous, very courageous. Second time, be careful to obey all the instructions that Moses gave to you. Remember, he gave them to you in Exodus. That was the first time when we were leaving Egypt. Hey, these are the laws. This is the way we walked. And then we walked for 40 years. And he goes, I know I gave you that bookend at the beginning, but now I'm giving you this bookend at the end. I'm going to say it all over again. Deuteronomy being being two, the second law. He gave the law the first time when they left Egypt, and now Moses is about to leave, and he goes, I'm giving you the law again. That's what we just got done reading in Deuteronomy. And he says this, make sure you follow all those instructions that Moses gave you. Don't deviate from them. Don't turn right. Don't turn left. Then, don't turn right. Don't turn left. Then, man, I'm looking for this one. You will be successful. Whew. That's what I want. In everything you do, study this book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night. Be sure to obey everything that's written in it. Only then are you going to prosper and succeed in all that you do. This is my command. What? Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged, because the Lord your God's going to go with you wherever you go. Whew. That's what I want. If Joshua led well, following God's laws, right? Moses lays it out and says, this is the way we walk. This is what we do. Here's the way we treat other people. Here's the way we interact with other people. This is the way we do it. It may not be the way the rest of the world does it. And that's okay. That's up to them. But I'm telling you, you're God's people. God's people do it this way. Here's how we treat people. Here's how we function with our finances. Here's what we do with our prosperity. It's all laid out for us, right? And it's so huge because I go, Joshua did a great job. I watched his life this last week. But you know what? The Bible tells us that Jesus kept the law. But it adds these things. He delighted in it. At one point, it says it was his bread. He says, oh, the law is like bread. The law is my food. Man, I couldn't live without the law. Jesus comes out and he says these things. It's my purpose. It's my mission. This is what I live for, this. Joshua had a lot of things he was living for. Yes, he was living by the law, but he had to get all these people into the promised land. Here's another one. Yahoshua, you're filling these in. Yahoshua, both Joshua and Jesus, Yahoshua, they're deliverers who rescue sinners. Joshua chapter 6, the fall of Jericho, right? Again, I mentioned a little bit of it, right? There's this huge city, and oh man, we got to go conquer this city. And here's the instructions. Here's how you're going to defeat them. Get out your bows and arrows. Get out your tanks and your guns and all the other things. And we're going to go conquer these people. And he goes, walk around the city. I'm like, walk around the city and answer my cell phone in church? Did you hear it? I heard it. My ADHD, there it was. Attention deficit, high def. Okay. He says this, he says, I want you to walk around the city 6 times. Come on. What kind of battle plan is that? But that's what Joshua does. And then I read about it, and that's on the 7th time. They're walking around that, and the walls come tumbling down, right? We read this, and I go, whoa. Chapter 6, verses 20 through 23. Amazing. He gets through this, right? 20 through 23. Watch what happens. When the people heard the sound of the ram's horn, they're walking around the walls, right? They shouted as loud as they could, and suddenly the walls of Jericho collapse on the Israelites. They charge straight into the town and capture it. They destroy everything with their swords, men, women, young, old, cattle, sheep, donkey, goats, right? Meanwhile, Joshua says to the 2 spies that we're talking about in chapter 4 and 5 here, he says to the 2 spies, he says, hey, by the way, keep your promise. Go to the prostitute's house and bring her out along with all of her family. Verse 23, the men who had been spies went in, brought out Rahab. A couple chapters back, they were checking out, like, how do we defeat these people? Right? And this lady saves them. Right? Watch this. Men who had been spies went in and brought out Rahab, her father, mother, brothers, and all their relatives who were with her. They move her whole family into a safe space near the camp of Israel, the safe place. The Israelites burned the town, everything in it, only things made of silver, gold, bronze, iron were kept for the treasure of the Lord's house. Watch this. Verse 25. So Joshua spared Rahab, the prostitute, her relatives who were hidden with her in the house. Here's why. You want to know why she was saved? Because she hid the spies that Joshua sent into Jericho, and she lives among the Israelites to this day. Here's what happens, man. I see this and I think of, I know I'm reading about Joshua, but it would have been so easy for him to overlook his promise. It's like in the midst of battle, it's just casualties. It happens. We forgot about that. I can see myself, right? But Joshua keeps his promise. But the part that I love, and I want us to grab out of this last week's reading, watch this, is the very people, let's say I'm the spy. I go in here, I'm in desperate situation. I've been spying on Jericho. I'm hiding in this woman's house, and she goes, I'll hide you even further. They won't find you. So she rescues me. Isn't it weird? Have you ever been in a place where you've rescued someone, and it turns around that they come back to rescue you? You ever been in that place where you're like, they need some help, and I'm in the position to help them? They need help. I can help them because they can't help themselves. Everybody catch that? And then sometime later, they end up helping me where I couldn't help myself. You ever been in that situation? That's what's happening right here. There are times where I'm on mission. My bride, go to the store, get the milk, whatever it is, right? All right, I'm on mission, blah, 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 blah. Don't look at anything else. I have to walk in the grocery store like that. And I'm on mission, right? Get the milk, get the milk, get the milk, get the milk, get the milk. What are those over there? Ooh, right? That's what happens, right? But then sometimes it's like the Lord distracts me. And he goes, hey, do this. Or I'll go, I'm heading toward what I'm supposed to get. And I know this is going to sound silly, and I get it when you know who I am, right? But I go, I'm going to go down that aisle. And then I go down that aisle, and I see someone I haven't seen in years. I go, oh, I was supposed to go down that aisle. That wasn't just a random moment. The Lord had an appointment for me there. Sometimes that happens. He distracts us. Hey, look at over here. A lot of times it's just my own brain. But sometimes the Lord distracts me and says, go do this. And then I end up paying for someone's groceries or something happens. I don't know what it is, but the Lord has assignments in those moments. Some would say she's undeserving. Everybody read her job description there, right? She doesn't deserve to be rescued, but she is delivered by Joshua. By the way, Rahab is the great-great-grandmother of David. We're going to read about King David in a little bit. This is the great-great-grandmother of David, and David is the great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of Jesus. So watch this. The rest of the story falls apart if Rahab doesn't come out of the city. Do you understand? There's no David, there's no Jesus if Rahab doesn't come out of Jericho. People, when you start to make those kinds of connections, you go, something stand up on the back of my neck. Because you're like, right now you're just going, oh yeah, okay, so they fulfilled their promise. No. There's no David and there's no Jesus without Rahab. And we got to get that. It seems like a little piece of a story. Jesus does the same thing. Jesus offers salvation to so many undeserving people, more than once to an immoral woman and then me. I'm like, I don't deserve this. What? What is going on? Romans gives a great play-by-play. Romans chapter 5, verses 6 and 7. When we were utterly helpless, Christ came at just the right time. He dies for us sinners. I was busy doing what I want to do, and I don't care what God wants. Now, let's get this factual here. Most people wouldn't be willing to die for a good person. And though some might perhaps be willing to die for a person who's especially good. Any especially good people in the room? Yeah. We need to have a conversation. Okay. Here it is. But God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still cussing him out and doing our own thing. I want what I want. Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And my pride and my arrogance and my hurts and wounds that make me act in all kinds of crazy ways go to the forefront, and God's going, I'll take care of that. Both Joshua and Jesus bring salvation to those whose lives and actions are so undeserving of deliverance. But I watched Joshua do it. I'm like, but there's a super Jesus, right? Here's another one. Yahoshua. Both Joshua and Jesus, they're both warriors who conquer God's enemies. That's a big one. We watched that this last week. It was amazing, right? We read about Joshua conquering the conquering warrior. There's the Canaanite army, and then Ai and its king. And I know, is it Ai or is it Ai? And let me tell you about the rabbit hole I went down on Ai this last week. And the book of Joshua conquering Ai. Do not go down that hole. Conspiracy theories from flat earth to all, it was all there. It was Ai, whoo! My ADD was on fire. Okay, so here's what happens, right? There's this group of kings, the southern coalition. Joshua's running through them, right? The city of Hazor, right? I'm like, what in the heck? The list goes on and on and on. Joshua, all this conquering, right? God promises Joshua, Remember in chapter 1, no one's going to stand against you all the days of your life. Do you hear what he said? And I watched it all week long. I'm like, oh yeah, that's no one standing against him. No one can stand against him. Jesus is also presented as a conquering warrior. Like we saw Joshua doing it physically, Jesus does it spiritually. 1 John 3:8, the Son of God came to destroy the works of the devil. That's a spiritual conquering. Colossians 2:15, he disarms the spiritual rulers and authorities. See, we watched Joshua doing that. He went into the city and he conquered. He took this king and he conquered. He went into this city and he conquered. He had these people and he conquered. But Jesus is doing something different. 1 Corinthians 15:55. Hey, death, where's your victory? Where's your sting? Because Jesus conquered it. But it's a spiritual conquering, not a physical conquering. It's not cities and towns and lands and borders. It's something way beyond. And just as I watched Joshua this last week, figuratively and literally put his foot on the neck of God's enemies. And oftentimes then, I watched Joshua do it this week. I'm like, whoa. In the future, Jesus is coming. And he is going to put his foot in the same place. 1 Corinthians 15:25 says this, Christ is going to reign until he humbles all of his enemies. Where? Beneath his feet. This is what and this is how I see this super Joshua. Here's another one. You could fill this one in. Yahoshua, both Joshua, Jesus, they're prophets who speak God's words. Joshua functions as a prophet for Israel at several points throughout our reading this week through the conquest. He speaks to people on God's behalf. He's communicating this divine revelation over and over again. He promises curses. At one point, when he destroys Jericho, I don't know if you remember this, but I was stuck last year. I was reading in Kings about a guy who tried to build where Jericho used to be. But and then last year I was like, wait a minute, whoa. I thought we weren't allowed to build where Jericho was. Did anybody read that this last week? Joshua was saying, anybody who builds on top of Jericho, it's over. Just don't even do it. It's cursed. And God will come after you if you try and rebuild this city. Well, in Kings, some guy comes along and he goes, I'm going to rebuild this city. And like literally in the same chapter, it's like, then he dies and his sons die and then his sons die and their brothers die and it's all destroyed. I'm like, whoa. And last year I was reading going, somebody said that was going to happen. I just didn't remember who it was, right? And so I'm like, who said that? And I was like, Joshua. He comes in and he says, this is the way it's going to work. And then Joshua commands the sun to stand still. That was cool. Because my imagination kicks in and I go, what does that look like? How do you make 12 o'clock all the way through 5 o'clock? How do you make 12 o'clock through 7 o'clock? How do you make noon at 9 o'clock at night? Something happened. It's amazing. Jesus functions as a prophet of Israel in really wild, I would call it strikingly similar ways. Jesus becomes a prophet, right? He speaks to the nation on behalf of God. But he is the one who is perfectly revealing God because he is God's character. When I read about Jesus, and I see how, watch this, I see how Jesus treats people who mistreat him. I see how Jesus treats people who lie about him, who betray him. Here's the big one, who abandon him when he needs them most. And I watch Jesus respond and I go, oh, listen, that's the way Jesus is responding because that's the way God responds when he is betrayed, when he is abandoned. And then I get the instruction, so I'm supposed to be like Jesus? I don't want to treat the person who betrayed me, who's told lies about me, who abandoned me. I don't want to treat him that way, but that's my instruction. John chapter 1, verse 18 says that nobody has ever seen God except those who got to see Jesus. They call him the unique one who is himself God. He's near to the Father's heart. If you've seen Jesus, you've seen God. And now, beloved, please understand. Let me stop for a moment. Since now we represent Jesus, beloved, please hear me. When the world looks at us, they're supposed to see God. We are his representative on the planet. We are God's representative here. What comes out of our face, what we do with our hands, what we click through on the internet, the world is supposed to look and go, so that's what God looks like. Those people. That's the people of God. Jesus, it's amazing because he does some of the supernatural stuff. He interacts with the natural in a supernatural way, right? Not just one person saw it, lots of people saw him. Total storm, stop it. It wasn't magic wand and seas will calm, right? There were no magic words. He just said, be still. And it was. And they're like, what the heck just happened? Great story. He's messing around with the physical realm in supernatural, metaphysical way. Like, what? You were blind. You see? You were deaf. You hear. You were lame. You walk. You were dead. You're alive? Who does that? Jesus. Because that's what prophets do. Here's number 5. We okay? Everybody okay? We're doing good? Here's number 5. Yahoshua, both Joshua and Jesus are victors who share the inheritance with God's people. Oh man, hear that. It was so cool, right? Joshua comes along and he goes, hey, so watch this. Joshua comes out, they organize, he goes, conquer this land, conquer this land, conquer this land, conquer this land, conquer the city, conquer these people, conquer this land, right? And then he goes, okay, we're all done. Okay, you and your families, you get that, and you and your families, you get that, and you and your families, you get that, and your families get that, and he starts parsing it out. Here's our inheritance. I told you this land was ours. Here's how it's going to happen. You get all of this property. Oh, and you're going to be on the other side of the Jordan River, and he parses all the inheritance. We watched Joshua do it. He divides up the land, and for the Israelites, this is their happily ever after. They were told about it in Egypt, 400 years. They were told, hey, we got a land for you. Yeah, so much for the land, because I'm busy over here in Egypt slaving away. And all of a sudden they make this ark, and now they're in the land of promise, and Joshua's the one going, you get, and they parse it all out. What's beautiful is that's what Jesus does for us. After conquering death. Not a city, not a king. He conquered hell. He conquered what every one of us is going to face, death. Jesus conquers it. And it's lovely. It's absolutely, it's fantastic because then he starts parsing out our inheritance. You ready? It's so good. He forgives sin. Woo! That's it. See, you family, you get this land by the tree that's over by the big rock. But to me, Jesus goes, you get to be forgiven. I'll take that any day. That thing that weighs me down, the guilt that often turns to shame, can't stand it. He says, hey, you, Jesus, when he's divvying up our inheritance, he goes, you get to be reconciled to God. You get to be one-on-one. You get to have a relationship with the God who created the universe. You get to be one-on-one, intimate relationship. You could talk to him anytime you want. Wait, what? That's so much better than those hills over by that river. Jesus, since I've conquered and I have an inheritance for you, you get the Holy Spirit. You get a helper. This one's going to walk with you all the time. See, I'm stuck here in Jerusalem because I'm stuck in this. I can't go any farther than this. But what I'm going to give you is another one exactly like me, except he can go anywhere, anytime, all the time. And I get the Holy Spirit. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And then it says, I'm adopted as an heir. Check this out, Galatians 3:29. Oh, now that you belong to Christ, You're the true children of Abraham. You are the children of Abraham. You are true heirs. The blessings that he said, here's the blessing I have for Abraham. All of a sudden it goes, and Marty, and fill in your name. I go, whoa. God's promises to Abraham belong to, you could say it, me. They belong to me. Wait a minute, is that what happened at the cross? That's what happened at the cross. That's why I love this moment. I love this moment. I love Christmas. You've heard me say it. Jesus comes from the womb. You know where I'm going, right? I love Easter. Jesus comes from the tomb. Bam. I'm like, it's one thing to be born of my mama, but born of the grave, it's what? I love this moment. I don't want to forget it. I want to keep being reminded of it. Joshua gives the people rest in a land of promise. Jesus promises rest in an eternal home. Listen to what he says. John 14, don't be troubled. Don't let your hearts get all anxious. Don't do that. Trust God. Trust me when I tell you this. Trust me when I tell you this. There is more than enough room for you. Where? My Father's home. If it weren't so, I wouldn't have told you. I got to go prepare a place. I remember when we first purchased this building, 1995. This was Canyon Cantina. Anybody go to Canyon Cantina? You want to admit it? Okay. All right. Canyon Cantina was from here to that wall. You'd throw darts, play pool, have all the drinks you want, right? That was a bar, sports bar, and all of this was a supermarket. It was Super 8. Meat department's way over there. All right. And so, listen, when we got in here and we built these walls and we named this room the Father's house. Because you can't have a sanctuary at the sanctuary, right? Where's the sanctuary? You're in it, right? So we called this room the Father's house because I wanted people to know that there's more than enough room for you. I wanted everyone to know it. There's room for you. I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know what you're dragging in here. Cool. It's welcome. Come on in. There's more than enough room. If it weren't so, I would have told you that. Come on in, the Father's house is plenty for you. Here's the last one. Yahoshua, both Joshua and Jesus, they're servants who faithfully walk out God's will. Joshua, man, he is walking out God's will. Everybody's wondering if Joshua's going to live up to Moses' reputation. I mean, Moses does this, part the water, boing, and then Joshua does it. It's like, oh, you could do what Moses did? Oh, and we watch him do it a lot. And then the conquering, right? But they're all wondering, is Joshua going to, the legacy that Moses left behind? When you look at the final analysis of his life, just look at this. Joshua chapter 24. I'm going to go there because I can. Joshua chapter 24, verse 29. After this, Joshua, son of Nun, the servant, wait. The conqueror of Jericho, the deliverer to the promised land, the conqueror of those kings of Hazor and of Ai. What's Joshua's epitaph? The thing that's written on his tombstone. Right? Mine is Marty Walker, ADHD. Right? My bride is going to be in charge of my tombstone. It's problems. Right? Here's what they say about Joshua. The servant of the Lord. Man, if I can go out with that as my epitaph, sign me up. That's what he gets after we spent a week reading about this guy. Joshua 1, 2, 5, 7, 9, keep going, all the way through 24. And he ends with this one, the servant of the Lord. No way! He's so getting gypped, right? It's like, you're so short, like he did so much. But really, if you can sum up, man, if I can sum up my life, that people knew he was a servant of the Lord. He did what he was supposed to do for God as long as he had breath. Sign me up for that. Who cares? All the other things that have happened, right? No, serving the Lord. dies at 110, doing what God told him to do. Look at all he gets credit for. Servant of the Lord. I want that. It describes Jesus too, doesn't it? Jesus gave us his job description. John chapter 10. Hey, I did not come to be served. I came to serve. Oh, I'm just getting started. I didn't come to be served. I came to serve. But wait, there's more. Not Ginsu knives, but this. Okay. And give his life as a ransom for people who couldn't pay their own ransom. I've been kidnapped by the punk of hell. He's a punk. He lies to me. He cheats me. He steals from me. He destroys things in my life. I've been kidnapped. There's no way I can get free. And Jesus goes, I'll pay the ransom. Wait, what? Yeah, but I was doing my own thing. I brought this on myself. These were my selfish actions. My arrogance, my pride brought me here. And Jesus goes, I'll still pay the price. Wait, what? You'll never be free. You can never free yourself. You can't earn enough money to pay the ransom, so I'm going to pay the ransom for you. And I'm thinking, what in the world? Yahoshua, Joshua, he did all of these things physically. But Palm Sunday, we're remembering Yahoshua, Jesus, who did all of these things spiritually. Conquering, beating the enemy, all these other things, right? We started, I don't know if you've been noticing the sash that's been changing week to week. We started, right? We started with the color of blue, and it hung across the cross. And this is just for us. It's not written in a book anywhere. It's just we're celebrating because I want to remember all the things. Blue was God's love for us, Jesus' love for us at the cross. And then we got into green. And that's where we got peace. And today it's purple, where there's royalty. Friday, it's going to be red for the blood of Good Friday, his sacrifice. And then on Sunday, guess what color? White. It's going to be white. Holiness, purity, victory, perfection. He rose from the dead. And so it's just little reminders. I just need reminders like, yeah, that's what Jesus did for us. That's what I celebrate. That's why I sing. That's why I stand. That's why I kneel. That's why I shout. Because I go, that. And I want to remember it. This morning, we're going to take a moment, have some conversation. It's super easy. Question, here it is. Anything stand out to you today? I know. The second question, people are like, Pastor Marty, we never get to the second question, right? Because it's always the first question that gets it, right? So here's one question for you. What stood out to you today? Or, hey, did anything stand out to you this week as you're reading about Joshua? Anything stand out to you go like, whoa, do you remember this part? Chapter 12, I was tripping out when he did. So let's have a conversation. Turn around, start talking to each other. Introduce yourself, say hi. Just talk to the person next to you. Hey, so what'd you get out of today? What'd you get out of the reading this week? Right there. You got it. What stood out to you today? We got about a minute left. Can I sip this? Okay, I'm done. All righty. Here we go. So the question I have for you today, who was the deliverer who faithfully obeyed God, rescued the undeserving? Who was the deliverer who conquered enemies? Who was the deliverer who brought people their inheritance? Was it Joshua? Was it Jesus? It was Yahoshua. It was, yes. That's what I celebrate today. We're going into a time of worship. I know the kids are like, thank you, he's not going to talk anymore, right? We're going to go into a time of worship, but this time of worship it's a moment of faith because it's asking us to speak things that are hard to speak. God, you are the way out. You will rescue me because I don't feel rescued right now. Because I've had a tragedy week, right? Because my brain betrays me. My heart just chews me up. And I go, God, but you will see me through, right? And that's what happens for me in worship. I hope it happens for you. Take the step to go, I'm going to make these words come out of my face in faith. This is a statement of faith. I'm going to sing these songs. Not because it's happening right now, but because I believe he is a conquering hero, because I believe that God will deliver, because I believe God will see me through in the midst of what the heck is going on right now. God will see me through. And so for me, I stand and I sing and I go, you got to see me through. I believe you told me you would. You said you would never leave me. He told Joshua, I will never leave you. I will defend you. I believe that you're defending me. You sent me a Holy Spirit to encourage me. That's what he's called, the come alongside-er who encourages. I go, I just need that today. Sometimes that happens by faith. We stand up and we go, okay, here we go. I'm going to sing this song, not know that it's happening, but I believe it's gonna. Please participate with that. Let your heart be transformed. If you need prayer, you've had a hard week. I will never turn down prayer, but there's a prayer room. Pastor Wendy's here. You've had a hard week. Come see somebody. Just go, man, this last week my aunt had this happen and this thing happened with our finances and then the car, my job is just like, come get prayer. Yes, yes. There is plenty of room in the Father's house and we want to pray for you. Father, I thank you for this moment to be together, the beginning of our week. First day of the week, we joined together. We stopped and said, I'm going to realign the mind, the heart. I'm going to make that alignment to Jesus, what he has to say about my life. Not what I say, not what my boss says, not what my doctor says. I'm going to believe what Jesus has to say. And that says he is more than a conqueror. Whew. And I'm grateful for that. We sing you these songs in Jesus' name. Let it be so. Let it be done.